I can sing in my brain.
You sing in your brain.
It's not quite the same.
What is that like when you sing in your brain? What do you just hear the melody?
Sometimes I choose the song.
Wishing you a wonderful and energetic day. And now let's get into the story. Linda Ronstadt. Few people know that she once had an extremely complicated relationship with the person she hated the most. So, who was that person and why did she feel that way? Find out in this video. The man she hated the most. One of Ronstadt's most recent public displays of her personal views came in September 2024, when she publicly expressed her discomfort with former President Donald Trump holding a campaign event at her namesake music hall in Tucson, Arizona. She expressed her deep disappointment on social media, saying that the program's divisive message was inconsistent with the open, multicultural spirit of Tucson, a city where she grew up. "I am deeply saddened to see such a program being held in a place that has long been a symbol of tolerance," she wrote. She also reiterated her long-standing concerns about immigration policies during her previous term, particularly the separation of migrant families at the border, which she said ran counter to the values she holds dear. Ronstadt, however, stressed that her views come from personal empathy based on her family's cultural background and the Mexican-American community she grew up in, and are not intended to attack any individual or faction. Ronstadt has also experienced challenges in working relationships not only on stage but also behind the scenes. In her memoir of Jim Morrison, the lead singer of The Doors, she once described him as quiet, reserved, but also unpredictable, especially when he drank. Ronstadt admits that, while she respects the group's talent, she personally believes that The Doors could have gone further if their performance had more consistency and focus. This is not malicious criticism, but rather artistic judgment from an artist who has always held herself to a high standard for musical quality. One of the most difficult periods that Ronstadt has spoken about publicly was the early years of her career, when she collaborated with keyboardist Jack Nitzsche. According to her, their working relationship was not smooth, leading to a lot of emotional tension. While she doesn't go into details, Ronstadt says she felt uncomfortable and vulnerable during that time, an experience she later saw as a lesson in how to stand up for herself and set clear boundaries at work. She also worked with a number of managers she wasn't completely happy with, which made her realize the importance of trust in the artist-manager relationship. All of these experiences, positive and negative, helped Ronstadt shape the artistic path she wanted to pursue. When she met Peter Asher, a friend, collaborator, and producer, she trusted completely her career took a new turn. It was with Asher that she created iconic albums such as Heart Like a Wheel, Simple Dreams, and Living in the USA, a series of works that helped her become one of the most influential female artists in the history of American rock and country music. Looking back, Ronstadt makes no secret of the fact that her difficult experiences have been a source of strength for her. "I have no regrets," she once said. "They taught me how to protect myself, how to listen to my intuition, and most importantly, that I deserve to work with people who respect me." She also shared a realistic assessment of the entertainment industry in which she has lived and worked for decades. "There will always be people who can hurt you, whether intentionally or unintentionally. It's your job to recognize that and learn to be selective." Overcoming the bumps and challenges in her career, Linda Ronstadt was once a young girl with a passion for music who left her family home to pursue her passion. But what prompted her to make such a bold decision? She left home for music. In 1965, at just 18 years old, Linda Ronstadt made the life-altering decision to leave her Tucson, Arizona home behind. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of an extraordinary musical journey that would eventually lead to unprecedented success in multiple genres. When Ronstadt informed her parents about her intention to pursue music instead of college, they initially tried to dissuade her. Their family had always placed significant emphasis on education. Her great-grandfather had immigrated from Germany to Mexico and ensured his children received proper schooling, while her mother had studied math and physics at the University of Arizona, unusual for women of that era. Nevertheless, when it became clear that their daughter's determination couldn't be swayed, her father disappeared into another room and returned with a treasured family heirloom. My father went into the other room and returned with the Martin acoustic guitar that his father had bought in 1898, Ronstadt recalled in her memoir, Simple Dreams. Along with this precious instrument, he passed down words that would prove prophetic. Ahora que tienes guitarra, nunca tendrás hambre. Now that you own a guitar, you will never be hungry. The same phrase his father had spoken to him years earlier. Her father additionally handed her $30 from his wallet money she stretched to last an entire month. Although her parents ultimately acquiesced to her decision, the emotional weight of defying them remained heavy. The only thing I remember about that long ride through the desert night was the searing remorse for having defied my parents, Ronstadt later revealed. This emotional conflict reflected the tension between family expectations and her unwavering passion for music. As she noted, "I never wanted to be anything but a singer." Her determination exhibited during this decision would become a defining characteristic throughout her career, allowing her to overcome numerous obstacles in the male-dominated music industry. Furthermore, Ronstadt understood the challenging path ahead. Years later, she reflected, "If my daughter was going to go into the music business, I'd probably lock her in the closet. It's such a hard business. So few people get to have the ride, and the ride is enough to make you crazy." For the young singer, Los Angeles represented the only viable destination to pursue her musical ambitions. "I had to get to where the music was, and it was not in Tucson. It was in LA," she explained. The decision was cemented after hearing the Byards, a new band pioneering folk rock on the West Coast. "As soon as I heard their creamy harmonies, I was mesmerized. It was clear to me that music was happening on a whole different level in Los Angeles. I began making plans to move to LA at the end of the spring semester. Initially, Ronstadt's aspirations were modest. I thought that I would be singing at pizza parlors or Holiday Inns or something like that. As long as I could make a living as a singer, I didn't have an ambition when I started." Little did she know that this bold departure from her family home would set her on a path to becoming one of the most celebrated vocalists in American music history. From a girl who dared to leave her family to pursue music, Linda Ronstadt quickly entered a competitive world, one where men had absolute dominance. How could she assert herself in an industry dominated by men? A male-dominated industry. After arriving in Los Angeles, Linda Ronstadt began carving out her place in a rock music landscape overwhelmingly controlled by men. Her persistence and remarkable vocal talent would gradually transform her from an unknown singer to one of the industry's most powerful female voices. The Stone Ponies formed in 1965 when Ronstadt joined forces with Bobby Kimmel and Kenny Edwards. The trio, named after a Charlie Patton blues song, quickly became fixtures in small beatnik venues around Los Angeles. "We got gigs in little beatnik dives like the Insomniac. We got paid USD 30.00 or something like that," Ronstadt recalled. Their breakthrough came at the Troubadours Hoot Night, an open mic event attended by record executives, managers, and agents. Subsequently, they were hired to open for folk legend Odetta, marking their first high-profile performance. Capitol Records signed the trio in summer 1966, releasing 3 albums in just 15 months. The group's cover of Michael Nesmith's Different Drum reached number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in 1967, propelling Ronstadt into the spotlight. Nonetheless, this success ultimately hastened the band's demise as they quickly became known as Linda Ronstadt and the Stone Ponies. Capitol Records had always envisioned Ronstadt as a solo artist. Kenny had decided that he wanted to go to India, and then it was just me and Bobby. Then he went off to start McCabe's guitar shop in Santa Monica as a performance space. So that left me by myself, Ronstadt explained. In early 1972, Ronstadt was described as the archetypal promising but underperforming artist who just couldn't get a breakout hit. Despite 5 albums to her name, only Different Drum had connected with audiences in a meaningful way. Pressure mounted from Capitol Records, which had invested significantly in her career, setting her up with different producers and songwriters. For her self-titled album, Ronstadt and producer John Boylan assembled a studio band that would later name themselves the Eagles. The album reached only number 35 on the country chart and 163 on the rock chart, yet notably, it set the stage for her future superstardom. Following the Stone Ponies breakup, Ronstadt toured with various groups. She recalled performing with The Doors, though frontman Jim Morrison didn't impress her. "We thought they were a good band, but we didn't like the singer." In 1974, she joined Neil Young's tour, performing in massive venues she wasn't accustomed to. "As a club act, we weren't ready for Madison Square Garden, but we did our best," she admitted. Despite the challenges, Ronstadt stayed for Young's entire 2-hour show each night, appreciating his great players. The tour provided valuable exposure, helping her subsequent album Heart Like a Wheel. The music industry of the 1970s was rife with gender bias. Even as she was rising to fame, Ronstadt said she could sense that her touring band, comprised of all men, found it significantly less cool to back a woman singer, notes one account. Ronstadt was frequently misconstrued by the public and the press as someone who repackaged songs by men with her dreamy eyes, pouty lips, and perfectly shaggy bangs. Moreover, touring presented emotional challenges. "I think it's the loneliness. I think that some people are loners by nature," she reflected. Ronstadt compared touring to military service. "It was like being in the army, you know. You wish you could go home, but you have a camaraderie with your fellow soldiers. It sustains you." Far from glamorous, road life meant washing your socks in the sink overnight. Years later, she would state plainly, "I didn't like living on the road. It was too lonely. It makes it hard to keep relationships together because you keep getting interrupted." After slowly establishing herself in a male-dominated industry, Linda Ronstadt began to face deeper questions. What does fame mean? What does she fear most? And is her voice, her most precious asset, a gift or a burden? Fame, fear, and voice. Even at the height of her fame, Linda Ronstadt, America's golden voice, still faced her inner battles, away from the spotlight and applause. To the public, she was a model of confidence and courage, but behind every splendid performance was a soul that often struggled with deep anxiety, a dark side of her artistic journey that many fans never knew. In contrast to the strong image when performing songs like Blue Bayou or You're No Good, Linda had long struggled with severe stage anxiety, a fear that almost accompanied her decades-long career. In a candid interview she once shared, "I was always afraid to go on stage, and as time went on, it got worse." When asked why, she offered a powerful but true image. "It's reasonable to be in front of a crowd and they want to kill you. It's a feeling of utter helplessness." This fear was not a one-off, but a recurring experience. Her former manager recalled that Linda was constantly anxious to the point of obsession. During performances, she could see some of the audience whispering and immediately imagine cruel criticism. "She's the worst singer I've ever heard." Remarkably, the feeling still haunted her even at the height of her fame, with millions of records sold and thousands of people coming to hear her sing. "I just always felt like I wasn't good enough," Linda once confessed. "I didn't think I deserved all the praise." To overcome her anxiety, Linda created a simple mental ritual: just breathe and sing. This simple but powerful mantra helped her return to the purest essence of music, focusing on each breath, each line, rather than being distracted by external worries. For her, calm and focus were her salvation, a haven from the storms of her mind. Although she learned to calm herself, her body began to show quiet signs of change. In 2000, while recording with her longtime friend Emmylou Harris, Linda first noticed something was wrong. "I couldn't move my voice from one direction to another like I used to," she recalls. At first, she thought something was wrong with her headphones in the studio, but the unusual sensation became more apparent over time. In 2009, she decided to perform her final concert of her career, a traditional Mexican concert, in San Antonio, Texas. It was not only the end of a journey, but also a silent farewell to an indispensable part of herself. In 2013, after many years of examination and monitoring, Linda was officially diagnosed with progressive supranuclear palsy, PSP, a rare neurological disease with symptoms similar to Parkinson's, affecting the body's ability to move and coordinate. "I can sing in my head," she explained with a slight smile. "Sometimes I choose the song, sometimes the song chooses me." The statement was an affirmation that the music was still alive in her, even if it was only in the silence of her mind. The condition had left her unable to perform the delicate and repetitive movements that are essential to singing. "I can't sing anymore. I'm grateful that I can still speak, but I think that will eventually go away," she says, not complaining, just accepting the inevitable. Despite her global fame, Linda has never been comfortable with the public spotlight. "Fame has made it impossible for me to observe people naturally because all eyes are on me," she says. For her, fame acts as a barrier between her and the world. She describes it as isolating, something that interrupts the ordinary experiences she cherishes, like a quiet dinner with friends, undisturbed by stares or requests for photos. "I don't like being interrupted while I'm having dinner," she once said frankly. Which is why, out of the limelight, Linda has chosen to live a quiet life. "I live a very private life, you know. I live in Malibu, behind closed doors." Unlike many of her contemporaries, she eschews the pomp of galas, premieres, and awards shows. "I don't go to openings. I stay home and knit and read," she says, as if describing an old friend, herself living the quiet life she once craved. For Linda Ronstadt, music has never been just a career. Could you ever imagine that an artist with a soulful voice like Linda Ronstadt would live with stage fright all her life? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Hope this video brings you some joy. Thank you and see you in the next videos.